All right, team, welcome back to the day 2 for our December 1st batch of QTP training. So we'll continue from where we left yesterday, but before that, let me see if there are any questions that I can take. Why don't we use record and run? So, all right, Aparna, the main reason we don't use record and run is, number one, why should I use record and run? What are the advantages? All right, the reason people have used is because it was easy to do. Okay, but once we get into automating it in a very structured manner, we need to go in a very organized fashion. To do that, when I add my objects, I am able to name them. Then I'm able to write the exact code of how I want the application to get automated. After which I can further customize things and so on, which we will see why and how. Especially when you get to descriptive programming, you'll realize that record and run is absolutely out of the way for us. We have to teach QTP how to understand, how to perform each and every step. That is the reason you need it. Second, because that's your starting point to learn VB scripting. Once you do that, you are required to write code every time. So you are recognized not by your record and run, but how you can write your VB script. All right. So I think that's the only question that came up so far. So let's continue. I'm going to open up the QTP D1 folder and open up this Excel that we created. So here is where we were updating our status, what we're going to do and so on. So yesterday we also started to write some bits of our basic VB script code. So now what have we done there? Let's quickly open QTP and start to use that. I'm going to go use Control O to open a test. Calc 2 was the last one that we did yesterday. This is where we were writing our code. Now I'm going to save this as version 3. The reason I'm saving it as different versions, team, is so that when you go back and when you're practicing looking at the code and all that, you're able to pick up that specific file and practice along with it. All right, team. So what have we done? What we did is primarily the first thing is we added the objects to the repository. Then we started giving the names to them so that we recognize each of them. Correct? Now, yesterday when we were trying to do this run, after a long wait, we got an error. The reason that error came up is it was trying to mention that it cannot do a specific activity. I'm giving instructions by these statements that you see, so it couldn't perform, and the reason was that Internet Explorer was not open. Okay, now team, one of the core skills, core skills that is needed is identify what the error says and make corresponding changes. Okay, this is a very, very important skill, team, and those run errors are your stepping blocks to success on this tool. The more you get the errors, the more you're able to resolve, the better you get on this tool. Now, why wasn't IE open? Because I didn't go and manually open the browser before we started to run these steps, right? So then how can I do it? There are a couple of ways. One, if I go to automation and I go to record and run settings, I can check the second option here, which will basically instruct QTP that if I hit the record or if I hit the run, open a specific URL using Internet Explorer, and that will automatically do that. So if I write my URL here, it will take that and put it out here. Alternately, let's try and do the same thing at a script level. To do that, team, I need to write one piece of code. Okay, it's a VB script code that typically you don't see coming out when you do a record. The way this code works is you write a thing called system util. What this does is system util is also an object which, like your browser, like your page and so on, that QTP understands. Where are they? They're not in the object repository. But similar to this, there are many, many other things that you will come across. Different things and commands that we can process. All right. This is the first thing. What this does is if I say system util dot, you will see all the methods that you can do. These brick icons with the motion sign are the different methods that you are able to perform on it. Okay. So if you click run, what it does is it runs a file or application. I can tell QTP using this command to open Internet Explorer. Alright, how do you learn this command? Now you're learning it. How do you learn similar commands? As you practice, as we encounter them, you will continue to master that. Now what I will do is out here, the first thing that is there out here bold is file. And here is where I have to say how to open Internet Explorer. There is an exe file corresponding to that called iexplore.exe. Once I give this in quotes, QTP will automatically go and open the browser. Okay, so what is the command? We are opening the browser. So I'm going to put a new comment here and say open IE. That was the issue that we faced. So now I'm saying let's open IE. Now the other thing, team, that happens is, let's say that the steps are running and they're going step by step, everything is happening fine, but they may run too fast for us. Because while we do it manually, it does take its own time. But when we are automating it, you will see that the scripts run very, very fast. So you can insert specific things to make the script run slow. Why? Won't it beat the efficiency purpose that we were talking about? Absolutely. Then why are we saying let's run it slow? So that we can see how the scripts are running. Unless we know how this is working and master this, we won't be able to do successful automation. Okay, so how will I do that? There is another simple command called wait. Okay, once I say wait, then I can say how many seconds do I want to wait. So wait2 will let QTP wait at this step for 2 seconds. Why am I using this? So that I can see what is happening. I may not keep it at the end when we will do complete automation run, but just to see how is QTP navigating between each of these commands. Okay. Now at the end of doing everything, okay, after we have completed, let's assume all of these activities are also done. What I wish to do is, since I opened IE, I also want to close IE. Now, how can we close a browser? To close a browser, right? Once the browser is open, QTP is automatically identifying that there is a browser with the name IE, and it is relating this one with the one it has opened. Now, I can try and perform a specific method on this object called IE, which is a class browser. Where is this present, team? In the object repository. You have the object name, the class, and some description properties that are used to identify it, which we will come to at a later point. So now to close, first I'll say, what do I want to close? Browser. What is the name? There is only one browser in the object repository. Dot, I will say close. Do you see the close command here? That will closes the browser or window to that this test object represents. So if my test object is browser IE, then it will close that. Alright, so what did we do? 2 new commands, systemutil.run, in fact 3. Systemutil is the object that we're referring, and then we're saying run something on it. Where is this located? It's an inbuilt thing within QTP, and so are many other things that you'll come across. Then we're saying let's use Internet Explorer to and launch iexplore.exe is the launcher for Internet Explorer. Then wait command, I'm saying wait for 2 seconds. Out here I can say wait for 1 second. Let's say wait for 1, wait for 1. So how many of seconds you want to wait between each steps? You put those things. Alright. Then finally I said on the object that we are aware, which we worked earlier, let's perform a method. Do I want to do it on a web edit? Are we closing? Am I closing a page? No, I'm closing the browser. And I use browser IE.close for it. Alright. Now let's save this and do a run and see what comes across. Every time I'm making some change, I'm running. Can you see Internet Explorer open, team? Now we're trying to perform this operation. It opened on line 2. It waited for 2 seconds. Now line 7. Let's see what happens. Alright, what happened? Now we've got the error, team. This is a very, very important thing for you to identify. The better we handle errors and the better we are able to program things accordingly, the more mastering level are we gaining on this tool. Alright, so what does it say? number one step for identification team. Let me see if I can write those steps down. Number one, what is the error? Okay. Then where is it happening? Okay. Then we will see what could be the probable reason. All right. Find a solution for that reason. Okay. Then fix the problem. Test your code again. All right. If else, if it still is an error, then repeat from steps 3 onwards again. So that's the logic thing. It is not, this is not the answer to the question. Okay, this is not your answer. Find a solution and so on is not your answer. The approach is the most important thing. How do we get to identifying the problem and then fixing it? And the way we're doing it is this process thing. What is the error? And the error is mentioned out here. What it says, it cannot identify the object end miles. What is end miles team out here? It is an object. What type of an object is it? What class does it belong? Web edit. Where is it present? In page 1, page browser. Right? Now it says, further it's saying that it cannot identify this object, but where can't it identify? Is it telling me that it is not able to identify in the object repository? No. Then it says verify that this object's properties match an object currently displayed in your application. Where is my application? I already opened the browser out here. Then why is it saying that it is not there? It is not saying that the application is not present. It is saying that the object is not present in the application. Do you see that object here, team? No. Why? Unless I go to that specific URL which is related with our application, I will not be able to see the object. When I say see the object, the way QTP sees the object using those description properties, which we will come to. Okay, that is what it is referring to. Now I have come to the application. Now do we see this object here? Is this the one? Yes. Can QTP see now? Yes. So at this point I can try and go further. So what did I do? I know where the error was happening. What was the error? Where was it happening was line 7 out here. We could identify that. And what could probably be the reason is that the application is not visible. Application URL, that specific page is not there. So now I have a temporary fix. Let's go to that application. Manually I did that. Now I will say let's retry this step. What am I going to say? I can say stop this test, retry, skip, or debug. We'll come to skip debug shortly, but let's for now say retry. I'm saying what it failed earlier, let's retry. Now it is continuing to perform the remaining steps, and it will click on calculate hopefully and wait and close. There you go, end of it. So does it mean that every time I have to go and change that URL after this happens? No. What I could do is instead, after the first parameter, these are all called parameters that drive any methods that you give. For example, set, you give a parameter for the value you want to enter. Okay. For run, I'm saying what is the exe file that I want to run. And out here, now I can say as a second parameter, I can give additional details. In this case, I can say that here is the URL. And do you see, team? There are open and close quotes, and then you also have a comma to distinguish between what is what. That is a structure, team. If I try and do it without a comma, then it's a problem. If I put a single hyphen, then it's a problem. So when you try and save, it will tell, hey, I cannot understand. That is not the correct syntax. The correct syntax always needs to be followed. And how do you master it? Just by practicing. Now, for example, we're saying we're opening iexplore.exe. Similar to this, I can go in here and say system util.run and say, if I say notepad.exe, then it should open a notepad automatically. Like I have a notepad here, it should open another notepad for us. So there are different things you can do, but the most prominent way of using system util is to open Internet Explorer. All right. Now, the other thing I want to do, team, is, all right, this is going fine. So let's try and run this and see if everything is working correctly. So I'm going to hit run and see what is happening. So now it's waiting for 2 seconds. Notepad opened here, browser opened. Now it is automatically navigated that URL and it is moving forward from there. All right. So now once it calculates, it's got the result and it closes that. So at this point, team, great. So we are getting closer to what we want to do. But hey, how about that? This is fine. I've taken one set of test data, let's say 15,000, 10,000, 40 and 4. Let's take this set of data. Okay. And I'll say, let's say 40 and 4. So every time I want to change the data, I'm having to change these values here. Let's say I want to make this 14. And let's say I want to keep this to 12,000. And now I want to see how the results come up. Okay, but at the end, let's say give a situation that I don't want to close the browser. What should I do? I can delete line 24 rather, but I may use this at a later point. So I will just comment it for now using Control-M. Don't execute that. Just click on calculate, wait for 1 second, and let's see what is coming up. Okay, so if I take whatever values I want, I should be able to get the results for those values. All right, so now the test is completed, browser didn't close, but at least I see what are the results that are coming up. 50 miles per gallon, blah, 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 all that is coming up. Is it correct or not? We have not yet tested that part. Okay, so if this is the case, does it mean that every time I have to change the data, go here and change the values here? Is it not inefficient, and doesn't it beat the purpose of that first ERA? It has to be efficient. We should be able to reuse it and it should be accurate. Then what is my alternate? My alternate is something called as creating variables. All right. Variables are very simple thing. It is like your cell phone records, the records or contact list that you have in your cell phone. You can create a contact, give your contact a name and say here is the phone number, right? Then you can continue to create various contacts. So every time you want to call your home or you want to call your close friend, you don't go and type that number every time. You just use the name in the contact and automatically the number will come up. Correct? That is exactly the same concept that we use here in variables or parameterization. What are they? I basically have to give a very simple definition for it. In the sense, variables hold values. I can say that there is a name of this variable. Let's say variable A. That is the name I am giving to it. Like you can give a name to your contact on your phone, right? And then I can put whatever value. I can put numbers, whatever I want, or I can put some characters and so on, or an email address, and whatever information I want, I can put one of those informations out here. That's my variable. So how do we do that? And why do I need variables for? For example, I have the end miles here. So I will say, hey, let's create something for that end miles. All I have to do is give the name of the variable. I'll say v end miles. All right. So team, 1 second, please. Can everyone see my team, my screen, team? Archana, if you cannot see the screen, can you log in back, please? Close the session and reopen. You may be able to see that then. All right. All right, team. So let's continue. Now I'm saying a name of that variable equals whatever I'm trying to put there. So I want to put 14,000. Now what I'm saying is let's use this. What do I mean? Now let's call the value in this variable. How am I going to call the value in this variable? The way we will do it is use that variable name. There are different ways. There is one statement called print. What that does is if I say end miles is and say v end miles, then it will print that specific values. Let's see how this works. Okay, I'm saying vEndMiles will take this value and put it into a variable called vEndMiles, and that is how you create a statement to put some value into a variable. Now I don't want all the tests to run. Why? I'm only interested to see how these two lines of code work. Then what do? Do I delete it? Do I comment it? Do I have an alternate? The alternate is something called as breakpoints. The breakpoints are basically telling QTP that break at a specific place. So let's say line 5 I want to break. So click on any of this gray area against that line. It will put a red dot there. What that will tell QTP is when the test runs, run whatever is there before the breakpoint, but at that point give a pause. Then we can see what next to do. So now if I save this and do a run, let's see what happens. So very quickly it has come till the breakpoint, and the breakpoint is hit right now. At this point I can say continue the run, or I can say stop the test. Okay, what do I want to see? I want to see what is this statement doing, which I'm not able, I don't know what it is doing anywhere. I don't see that, but I can see that whatever I gave here is coming out here, and that is endMiles is vEndMiles. What did I want? I wanted endMiles is 14,000. How do we do that then? To do that, I have to call it by that name. So if I say print vEndMiles, and let's say print vEndMiles in quotes, keep the same statement, but now I will change it to endMiles is ampersand vEndMiles. What am I doing here, team? Print is a statement that will take whatever I give, and it will open a simple pop-up, not a pop-up but a dialog box on the side, and it will start to give information of whatever I want. So I'm saying print vEndMiles without quotes and then vEndMiles with quotes, what we had earlier, and this new statement. Okay, now before line 5 gets executed, I want a breakpoint on line 5. I'm going to put a breakpoint on line 5, save it and run this test. But before that, let's close this old print log. Now what did it do? The first print statement that you saw here, it printed 14,000. When I call the value, the name of that variable, it will give me the value in the variable. So when line 1 got executed, team, what QTP did is it quickly allocated memory. It said that this is the name vEndMiles, okay, and then it said that into the value of it we will use 14,000. Okay, so wherever I call the name vEndMiles, it will get me the value. Out here I'm saying print vEndMiles, but whenever I give anything in quote, QTP prints it as is. It doesn't know what is there inside the quotes. As it sees, it prints. It doesn't know that it's a variable name and so on. Then I printed the whole thing here, same thing. Anything with open and end quotes will be done and printed as is. How about line 5? Has it executed yet? No. What will happen when I execute this? What this statement does, team, is it combines two things together. It combines this whole thing which is in quotes, which is basically your text or a string, and it combines the value of the variable with the name vEndMiles. Okay, ampersand is joining or concatenating, it says. What is it concatenating? The left side and the right side. Left side is a complete string, right side is the name of that variable. So it will automatically get replaced by the value. So if I hit run, what will happen is it will run till the next step. So let's hit run. Now you see endMiles is 14,000. So you've learned how you could create a variable, get a value into it, and print it so that you can see the values out of it. Right, team? Now what do I want to do? I don't want the remaining test to go on. Why did I do this? I did this so that instead of putting this 14,000 here, I'll replace it with vEndMiles. Similarly, I will create another variable called vStartMiles and call this, give this the value, let's say 12,000. Okay. Similarly, I'll say vGas equals 40. vPrice equals 4. All right. Now, wherever I want to use those values, I can start to use the names of those values. Okay. And instead of this, I'll say vgas, and here v price. All right. Now, let's see how this works. How did I create a breakpoint, team? The way I created a breakpoint is you click on the gray area against that line. Let's say line 6, I want a breakpoint, you click on that. Line 9, I want it, click on that. Remove, if you want to remove it from line 6, click on it again. On that gray area, you click on it and you will get the breakpoint. All right. So team, just a quick couple of questions I'm going to take before I continue. IE, QTP only works with IE, team. It also has a Firefox plugin, but it's not very reliable. So IE is the only browser for web applications for QTP. All right. Now let's see. There's another question there. Can we use other browsers? That I've answered. How do we insert breakpoint? Yes. Yes, still at that I see. Does QTP support record IE only? Yes, only IE. That's the reason a tool like Selenium has become very popular, because it is cross-browser. Now that we have done this, let's see how it does. So what am I doing? I named my variables and I started to put values into it. So this step out here is initialize test variables. Why are these test variables? If I change the values in this, my test will change automatically. Now let's run this test. Let me take off the breakpoints and let's run this. Yes, I know. I deliberately try and do some things out there, team, just to give you how it, what would happen at that time. So let's see what happens when the end of this calculation comes up. Okay. So team, did we get a good result? No. Then what is the problem? What is the problem for us, team? The problem is not vgas. The solution is vgas. All right. This is the approach, team. Why? It's an easy thing probably for you guys to look at sometimes, but there'll be so many things. If you don't follow the process, you won't know how to fix it. And later you'll feel, oh man, that was so simple for me to go back and change it, kind of a thing. What is the error? The error is QTP throwing an error? No. So QTP, whatever I told, is doing correctly. Where is the error coming? Out here. Right? It is on the application. It says gas put in the tank needs to be a positive number. Why? What do I see here? V gas. What could be the probable reason? That I put V gas out here, and that's the reason it seems to be giving me this error out here. All right. Do I have a solution? No. But where is the problem occurring? Okay. Where is that problem occurring from? What is the source for that? The source is, where am I entering V gas? Browser IE page, web edit, gas. There you go. Here is the gas field. And now I have vgas. What is the problem? The problem is, when I want the value in the variable, I don't use quotes. And that's the solution. Now you run this again to make sure that your solution is taking care of the issue that came up. And then you know that you're moving forward. So team, at this point, any questions, please? Rajiv, I have answered this at least 3 times today. Only IE. It only supports IE. Record or run, whatever. It also does a little bit on Firefox, but it is very unreliable. All right. So now I don't get the same error message again. All right. So now it sticks with what I expect it to do. So team, what do we do next? Go back to the plan. Let's see what we wanted to do. So what we wanted to do was write the basic code. We've done some part of it. So let's say about 50% is completed. Create our VB script test parameters variables. We have done some of them. I don't know how many more I'll need. So 50%. Have we done debug? Yes. We basically used one of the features of debug called as breakpoints. What is debug? I'll come to it. Now, what is the big improvement that we did from the last time? Instead of changing the values here, all I have to do is change the values here. But is that really beneficial? Does it even make sense for us to just say that, hey, instead of changing values here, do it here? Big improvement? No. Then what is the advantage? The advantage will come to team. We will be coming to the advantage. But what I want to do is I want to do something called as loops and conditions. Why? As part of my efficiency, reusability, and accuracy, I want this code not to run just for one set of data. Can it automatically repeat the whole steps for different sets of data? And for that, we will use something called as a for loop. Your breakpoint comes on your script out here. It tells us where in the script do we stop that execution. Checkpoint is not one of the debug features where you're putting it while the test runs. It is something inside the script where you say that if this happens, do this. If that happens, do this. Okay. Now, what I will do, team, I will just take a new test to explain a loop and then come back here. What I want to do is show you something called as a for loop. Okay. What do I mean? If I write something called for, automatically another word next comes in. This is a very important statement, team. You use it very often. So to understand exactly how it works is very important. So if I say I equals 1 to 10, what this does is if I have any statements here, like let's say hello, print hello. All right. And let's say I'll also print, what is this variable I, right? I value is ampersand I. See what happens to this. When I run this test, let's save this as simple for. Now, when I run this test, let's see what happens. But before that, let's close this print log. I don't want the old log to be there. So when I run this test, team, what happens is it has done some prints. What did it do? It printed hello out here. And then it again did a print of I value is 1. And then again hello, and then I value is 2. And then again hello, and I value is 3. Why is it doing this? When QTP looks at a for loop, okay, if I say print before for loop, and the same thing I do it at the end and say print after for loop, anything that is inside that loop gets repeated. But how many times? Depending on the range you give. So if I say 1 to 10, it prints this 10 times. It starts the count at 1 and increases every time it completes the next. So to see this script in action, team, what we can do is I can put breakpoints at every stage and see what is happening. Or there is another big feature called debug. What is debug, team, here? You're seeing how we are doing simple scripts and running it. Debug is a feature, as the definition, will help you to try and identify and eliminate bugs out of your own script. You are coding like your developers. The reason you and I are here today is because development or any process can have errors. So we are quality assuring. We're trying to make sure that things are working correctly. So when we are writing our own code and building things, we could be doing something wrong. The better we do, the minimum errors we have in our code, the better is our output. And that's the reason this debug is important. All right. What this tells me is various things that I can use to put a debug. I mean, to identify what might be going wrong. One of them is insert or remove breakpoints that you saw. The other important thing, team, is called step into. When you click on step into, like your normal run, you get this window. And team, if you notice, I don't know if I mentioned, there is something called as write run results to this folder, whatever folder you want, or put it into a temporary run results. Why am I using temporary run results? Number one, I'm not looking at the QTP run results at this point. Okay, I'm not looking at it. I'm looking at how my script is running. Once I automate, then I will get to testing. Okay, when I want the reports is when I get to the testing part. Okay, at this point, I'm only trying to automate, learn how to automate. That's why we're not interested in this run results at the moment. So keep it as a temporary run and say, okay. Like our regular run, when I said debug and step into, it starts that way. But once you see here, it doesn't continue to run everything. Okay, what it does is it goes to the step 1 like a breakpoint at every line. It will wait for you, almost like a breakpoint at every line. So you could run the all the steps from here, stop it, or what you could do, use this, continue to use this step into the debug step into. Shortcut is F11 out here, unless your keyboard has F11 assigned to some other function team. Now, once you do this, it will execute that, go and wait at the next line. What did it print? Before for loop. Now let's see what happens here. But hey, what is I? Like I created a variable, when I write this, this I gets created automatically as a variable. Okay, one of the other features of the debug process team is called your debug viewer. Very, very important. I will give you an overview, then we will use it many times, almost every time. You'll automatically become an expert at it. Data table not needed right now, so I can close this view. Okay, if let's say this is the view you have, all you have to do is go to view and select debug viewer. Once you do that, team, the most important thing that you have to note is this variables thing out here. This is the one that you need to watch every time. Why? As you create variables and as you're doing a debug, you can see how the values are changing. I don't need to use this print statements every time out here. So what happens? What do you see? Name, value, type, all blank. So now let's see when line 2 gets executed. You see that a name out here got generated as I, and this is under your variables out here, team. Okay, and the value for that is 1 because I said 1 to 10, and the type is something called as an integer. Okay, there are only 3 or 4 very important data types, team, in QTP, probably 1 or 2 more. That's it, not very complex. But the reason it's integers are numbers. They could be positive or negative numbers or 0, but they're not having decimals within it. Okay, that is a type of a variable. Like you have a type of an object which is web edit or your links or your buttons or your images. Similarly, this is a type of a variable. It tells us exactly how the variable is stored. Okay, as we apply more and more, we will be mastering that. But integer, basically any positive negative number without decimals. So when I said 1, the value I got created, value was 1, now it is integer. Out here, line 3 prints hello. Line 4, I value is, and what is the value of I, team, out here? 1. Now what happens next? Come back here. What happened? As soon as I hit next, it changed the I value to 2. So every time QTP loops through this code, it increments this counter out here called I. Alright, and it continues to do that, and every time it does, you will also see those changes happening in your variables also out here. Okay, so you got the point in. That is the purpose of this for loop. Okay, so I can stop this test or just let it run step by step. Any questions on this, team? Because once this is, I've shown you this, it's easy for me to go back and implement a for loop out here. Topita, Firefox we're not using out here. Team, okay, now what I'm saying is, what are the steps that we want to repeat? What a for loop does, repeats through the steps. Which are the steps I want to repeat? Hey, I want QTP each time to open the browser, enter these data, perform these steps, and then repeat these steps every time. All right. Rather, if I say that these are the steps that I want to repeat, do I want to always open and close the browser? No, not necessarily. So I will say let's open and close at the end. So that's basically like your before for and after for. But my for loop, what I will do is I'll say for I equals 1 to 5, smaller range right now. Say next, cut it from here. Where should next be now? Next should be where I want to stop that loop. So everything that you see inside here should be looped. Now why did I give an indentation and tab it? That way, when someone is reading through the code, he or she is able to easily identify that, hey, here is a fur, and the corresponding to that next is out here. And everything within that belongs to that loop. Now I'm saying each time, let's take the values, put those values, and change what is happening in the application. So what will this do, team? Let's see. So if I save this and run this code, no, let's do a debug run, okay, to see how things work. Where are we? We are on the first line. What do I see here? Blank variables. Let's close this print log. I don't need it. Now, as soon as I hit on step into, you'll see v and miles, the value within quotes, and the type is string. String is anything within quotes, team. Any characters, numbers, alphabets, anything that you give in quotes becomes a string automatically. Okay, that is your second data type. That's very, very important. Next, where is v start miles? Why is it not here? Hey, I haven't yet executed line 3. Now step 3 executed, step 4, step 5. So now all values from a variables created. So now what do? We do the print whatever we've given here. Now I'm saying let's launch the browser. Cool. I'm not looking at the print statements right now anymore. So I'll put that there. Change this view a little bit. Change my browser view also a little bit. So that way we can see what is happening at every step. Okay. I think we can do a little bit better. Now step into, it'll wait for 2 seconds. Then it'll come here. Is I created already? No, only when I execute line 18. The yellow arrow is saying that this is ready for execution. Now I hit to step into, we get in, and I starts with 1, right? So this whole code repeats 5 times. So if I say start to enter these steps, it will do that. But you know, there are wait statements and all that. Isn't it too slow for us to keep on doing step into? What I will do is let's put a breakpoint on next and say run. So what it will do is it will enter everything. Once it comes to the next point, next marker, it will stop that run. Do you see this? I started with step into, but then I put a breakpoint as I started seeing what is happening. And then now I said, let's run it. So now if I say step into, it will come to the next one. It will come directly inside the for loop. I value is changed to 2. It will go ahead and try and perform the same things. So what is it doing? Is it having an issue putting these values? No. But is it any different from what we did previously? No. Why is it not changing? I hit the breakpoint. I'll hit run again. Why are the values not changing here? Why? Because variables will store the same value as you want it to. Your instructions are that. That is why it is doing this. So what do I want to do? I want to change at least one value so that each time I get some different results. If not every value, let's change at least one value. How will I do that? Let's see. But before I do that, what I'll do is I'll clean up the code a little bit more. Now let it not continue to run all the way. I'm going to stop this test. This is there, so I'm going to create this and save this as calc 4. I just wanted to have the old one. Let's clean up. Do I need the print statements anymore, team? No. We just used it to see how things are coming up. Do I need this statement? Yes. Do I need this wait statement? Not really. I can use breakpoints now. Even this is not needed. The main sentence is important and the main code is important for me. This wait statements also, I don't need them right now. Okay, these I need because I don't know what I'll need to do later. This team I've already mentioned, so be aware of how we try and debug. So here is my code. Better looking, neater, smaller, simpler code. Yes, okay. So did I think I lost calc 3 and then I put this. I don't know. I don't remember what I did there. Let's see. So now I'm saying let's change some values. What value can I change? Hey, let's change vgas, one value at least, okay, equals, instead of this I'll say 50. But then what will happen? Look at what will happen before you try and perform it at your end. What would happen is it will come onto line 10, it will come to line 11, it will take gas value and update it to 50. You have changed the value of the variable. It will take 14,000, 12,000, 54, perform it. Then come back. Again it is 50, it will continue to do the same thing. So it will keep on doing the same thing again and again. What can I do? How about saying vgas equals, or let's say vprice equals the old value of vprice plus the value of I. What am I saying? Earlier, my V price was 4, correct team? When I'm saying plus, I'm adding two things. What are the two things? One is V price, which is the number 4 out here, and then I, that is the value 1. So what should it take here then? It should take 5. It comes back into this, repeats again. This should become, V price should be now, the existing value was 5. It will add one more to it. It will make it 6. So it will continue to perform in that step. So let's close the earlier browser that was there. Save this and try and run this now. Actually, you know what? I'm going to put a breakpoint here and run. From there on, I'll do step into. So far, here are the generic values. Now, let's go in. I is created. What should come into V price team when line 11 gets executed? It should become a value 5. All right, there you go. So it has taken that 4 and 1 and it has added them together. But in fact, it is not the correct thing to do. I will tell you why. Because we need to convert some of these things as we perform these steps. Okay, now it has taken the value 5 in here. Okay, so now it will go in, let it continue the run and come to next. Now what do I see? 50 miles per gallon and 21.26 kilometers per liter. And let's say unit cost is 10 cents per mile. That is the unit cost. Now let it run again. Now what is the unit cost? 14 cents per mile. So each time I'm entering different values and hopefully I'm getting different results also. Some of the results may not change because depending on what we are changing out here. Why did I do this? Just to show you how you could repeat the same steps and give different random sets of data just by some logic. Later, once we get to Excel read and write, we will automatically start to read those values from there. So team, any questions right now? So what's next team? So why did I use this loops? So we started to debug. We are understanding what debug does, but we've not mastered debug team. It is introduced to you today. This is the same process we'll repeat on different projects, but we'll get more and more complex. We'll go much faster as we go on. Okay. So in this loop, I don't need to do anything with I. I automatically starts with the value 1 and goes to 5. Let's say if I say I starts with 5 and goes to 10. Then it will start with V price is 4 plus 5, that is 9, and keep on going till it becomes 14. So the range you can give. When we come to another loop called do while, there I'll show you why is it different. Why did it take V price as double? Actually, I didn't see, and I want to show you those conversions. But before I do that, let's try and automate these first. Okay, actually click on the calculate button. Why is this here? It should be out here, right? This is where we're clicking on the calculate button. Now, verify results. What do I mean by verify results? What do I mean by verify results? So to verify results, what do I need to do? First, where is my result? My result is out here. Correct team? 50 miles per gallon or $0.28 per mile and so on. Correct? Let's say that I want to compare some of these values. Let's say for simple reason 50 miles per gallon. Okay. Now, how do I get this value from here into my application here? So to do that, what is the basic logic team? Just two questions, where and then what. First, I need to identify the where part. Okay. Once I get the where part, then I can see what I should do. So where is this object? Out here. So let's try and add it to the repository. Open your object repository and then click on the plus icon. Now hit that specific object. What does it come as? Browser, page, web table. Now it says it's a web element. Whatever, let's say okay. So at this point, what I will say is 50 miles per gallon, whatever it gave as a name automatically. That is the logical name it gave. But what I want to do is put it as M miles, I'll say miles gallon, okay? Miles per gallon is the name that we will give. It is easy for me to understand when we write the code. It says it's a web element. It doesn't say it's an image or a web edit and so on. Why is it a web element? Anything that you see as a text team on your application, then it automatically becomes as a web element. It is no longer something else that is common. Okay, that is the class for it. Now I have identified hopefully the where part. So what do? Write the where part of VBScript. I'll say browser same IE dot page, page one dot web. What was the type of object name? Element. So automatically that should come up because only one web element is present. All right, done. Now what I want to do is I want to get this text. So do I see anything like get text out here? Capture bitmap, check properties. I'm seeing what is logical. Okay, there is get arrow property, some TO properties, and get TO property. So it is trying to get something, looks like it makes sense, but what does it do? Look at get arrow property. Returns the current value of the test object property from the object in the application. What do I mean by returns the current value? And what does it mean by test object property? From the object in application is the only thing we probably can understand very easily so far, right? What does this mean? What this means, team, is the next most important aspect of automation, and that is your objects and their properties. You remember till I told you objects have a specific name. They belong to a specific class, like your web element or browser or page and so on. They can have other child objects which can have further child objects and so on, right? Each of these objects you can identify them, right? And you can also tell them what to do, what are the methods that you can perform, like close, open, click, set, and so on. And then there are other things called as properties, team. What are these properties and what are this identification? If I tell one of you how, oops, that got erased, okay. If I tell one of the team members as to how do I identify you, what will you tell me, team? You'll give me something that is unique to you, your email or your phone number or your social security, something like that, which is very unique to you. That is an identification, but that is also a property in the sense that every object or every person or everything that you see has definite properties, in the sense what is the color, what is the height, what is the weight, or depending on that object type it will have the properties. Okay, so for example, if I talk about a car, okay, we have things like what is the color, what is the make, what is the model, the year, what is the license plate number, what is the VIN number, what is the engine capacity, how many door is it sedan or two-door. All of these things are what are properties. These properties define that specific object. Okay, these properties define those specific object. So if I have two cars with the same color, model, year, and everything, are they the same objects? No. What are used to uniquely distinguish? The license plate number, or more important, the VIN number, right? So that's your ID, and other things are just your other properties. Properties describe an object. Identification properties uniquely identify that. All right, team, that is the aspect of it. Now, if I go back to my code and see this, what does this do? Dot get arrow property. It says returns the current value of the test object in the application. Dot get returns the current value of the test object property from the object in the application. So how do I know what is the property that is holding the value? Very simple, thing. There is an extremely important feature called as object spy. I'll just give you 1 minute overview about it, and then we'll continue from day 3 at this level, team. Okay, what object spy does? The name object spy. What does it do? It spies. Where? On objects. What does a spy do? A spy collects information, observes, and reports them. That is it. A spy doesn't go and get into necessarily get into an action. It doesn't go and try and perform something. That is what this does. If I say, hey QTP, go and spy on, let's say, this thing out here, object. So if I click on the hand, and like your add objects to local, I go and click on that image, it will tell me that here is how that image is located. These are the different properties that images typically have and the values for those. The class name is image. alt is a property. We basically, when you go mouse over, what does it show? It shows calculate. That is the value. File name is calculate.png. That is the name of that file where this is there. Height is 25. Then there are coordinates for it. Then there are things like what is the HTML tag, image type, and so on. So these are the things, team, we will master using regular expressions and other ways as we move forward in this training. Okay, that will be our focus. But now, similar to this, if I use this object spy and let's say I click here, what I see is the class name is webedit. This is the object. Then the current, you'll see that different things like the current value is 14,000, the type is text, and so on. So, for example, after I enter all this, before I click on this, I want to see that if I enter v and miles, what do I get out of it? Where, same thing actually. So copy this whole thing and say out here that I'll put this object out here. Now here is the object. What do I want to do? I want to get the value that is there in that edit field. So to do that, I will use get arrow property. Get arrow property, like we saw there, gets the runtime object property. What is the property in that field out here? What property do I want? The property that holds this value, 14,000. Okay, let's go. Use this spy and click on this. What do I see? Where is 14,000? I see default value 14,000. Okay. Then I see where else value is 14,000. Two ones are there. Which one should I use? I'll come to runtime object property. Let's say I change this to 12,000. Okay. I change the value to something. Okay. Let's say something more unique. All right. 12,002. Now I use the spy again and click here. My default value continue to be 14,000. But if I come down here, my value is 12,002. So the value is the one that gives me the current value in that property name from that object using get arrow property. Get the runtime object. In sense, when the application is running, when you're doing something, at that point, what is the property name? This should get us the value of that property back. Now what do I want to do? I'll print this out here and say, and sorry team, I'm taking more time than expected. End miles is ampersand whatever I get here. If I do the same step before I put a value in here, let's see what I get. Okay, if I do the same thing before I put a value, and instead of 5 to 10, let's try and do it for just 2 times, 5 to 6. Have we completed this? No. We will come to that, but let's do a quick run to see how my print log looks. I'm not interested in too many other things. Okay, so when I run this test, I expect out here a value to come as blank, because unless I go and enter something, there should be no value there. Let's see what happens when we execute this. So team, any questions please? I'm already 5 minutes over the schedule. Arrow property is saying get the runtime object property. Runtime in the sense, application, when you're changing it, it is running. You're changing something in the application so that you can see how it behaves according to it. And you are getting one of those property values at that point in time. Now let's look at the print log. Where do I see? End miles is 14,000, 14,000. Why did it start with 14,000? Unless I go use a breakpoint, I don't know what is coming out. So there are also the old results. So I'll leave it like right here, team, so that we can continue from day 3 onwards with this. Any questions, please? Can I download the script in Excel file from every session? If so, how? So what I'll be doing is every 2-3 days of the session, I will be uploading them onto Screencast where your videos are there. You can download those files from there. All the scripts that we do from this and the other batch. Also team, couple of important communication. I know I've sent an invite to the Screencast folder where you can go in and look at some of those videos. I have not yet given access to that new mega folder to all the paid participants. I will be giving access to that after this free demo that I had given to thousands of members for Monday. Okay, so that you can look at it. So Monday night for all paid members, you will get the access to this and the other folders. Till then, you can use the demos currently, and then I'll guide you forward from there on. Any other questions, please? All right, team, that's it for today then. Thank you so much. Have a great weekend. We'll see you back on Monday for day 3. Take care, everyone. Thank you then. Bye now. Thank you. Bye.